culture has sprung up, perhaps as a way to distract from the very real systemic forces of suppression that are out there. Someone is fired for having problematic views of sexual harassment. That's just the free market at work. Many of the people who we think of as being canceled still prevail and are allowed to continue to work and make a living.
Still, there's surely been this tendency in our online culture to overreact to small missteps or slights and shame people. And there's a whole book about it now. It is PR expert even tackles the topic in his new book, The Cancel Culture Curse: From Rage to Redemption in a World Gone Mad. And we welcome Evan with us this morning. Evan, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you.
So is this something that's new to the internet age?
Absolutely. It's new to the internet age, and it couldn't happen were it not for the pervasiveness of social media and the interconnectedness. So reputations that are built up over decades can evaporate in mere seconds. And it's because everybody is chasing the likes and the views, and there's activity on social media. There's a connection between the mainstream press and social media. So it's definitely a new phenomenon. And I think, we wrote this book in order to both define it and to expose it, and then ultimately, hopefully, to defeat it.
Well, there's an old saying that you should act like people are watching, and in the age of the internet and social media, they are watching. Are there examples where someone getting canceled is maybe a good thing?
I don't think so. I think the only thing that we really have to cancel.
How about Harvey Weinstein?
That's a great question. And Harvey Weinstein wasn't canceled. Harvey Weinstein was convicted in court and sent to prison because a case was made against him. And so there's due process in this country. And in his case, the due process worked. So that's a prime example of where we don't need online mobs of people to bring justice. We have a justice system for that.
Yeah, but I think that all started on the internet and journalism and the internet and fueling public pressure through the internet and social media. No?
Not necessarily. And what you have is you have people who are everyday citizens who have not raped and assaulted people, who have maybe not even done what they're accused of doing, but their lives are destroyed by these online mobs. And most people think mistakenly that it's just celebrities or high-profile people that are susceptible, and that's not the case at all.
Give us an example of a couple of those everyday citizen cases that you talk about in your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a series of case studies at the end, so we can go into more depth about them. And one of the cases that we tell is of a woman who owns a small business, and she's away with her husband, and she wakes up to find out that people are demanding a boycott of her store, and they're accusing her of being a racist and being involved in politics. And nothing could be further from the truth. It was a case of mistaken identity. People thought that someone who was involved in politics was the owner of the shop. And that simply wasn't true. So she was facing a scenario where people were demanding a boycott and a shutdown, and her livelihood and the livelihood of the 30 people who work for her were thrown into turmoil and hanging in the balance, all in a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah. And so these are the kinds of things that happen with mob mentality and on the internet, where nuance is very, very difficult and not appreciated. So what does an average person like that, what should they do to reverse the tide coming at them?
It's a great question. And there's a whole chapter in the book, The Cancel Culture Curse, that lays out a playbook for them and what to do. First and foremost is you want to refuse to be canceled. And in the intro here, you mentioned it, and you were right, that people do find a way to prevail. And in many cases, simply refusing to kowtow to the mob and having the willingness to defend yourself and to push back against disinformation or misinformation is one of the critical aspects that you really have to employ if you want to survive cancel culture.
So the solution is, half the problem is the details of accusations are sometimes more salacious and they're more interesting. And then when actual facts come out, then nothing is on the internet about it, the stuff that corrects the problem. So in the meantime, what does the person do?
That's right. The allegation is often enough to destroy a person's livelihood. And the very plain, very reserved denial isn't nearly as memorable as the accusation itself. So what you have to do is be willing to get into the fight, not to pull a turtle move and go within the shell. You should, rather than when the media comes and wants comment and wants to talk to you about it, not go within yourself, not refuse to talk, not hope that the truth is going to come out. Instead, you have to seize the initiative. You have to be willing to tell your story because no one's going to tell it better than you can.
All right, Evan, thank you for joining us. Evan Nierman, Cancel Culture Curse. We appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Time now for